Hello, welcome back. This is Jeff Byers and this is Andy255 and this is module 4, and we are going to create a water fountain and a particle simulation. And I'm going to go through the required asset list. These are things that we're going to have to create. Now, we are going to create the water fountain. I don't want you to find that model out on the internet. I want you to create that yourself. So that's going to be something you're going to be creating and modeling and texturing. So I need you to create a water fountain, and the biggest question I always have is, what's the scale? Well, the scale is this reference. So basically, the smallest scale you can go is 20 feet by 20 feet at the base. That's between here and here. Now I know this water fountain is probably about 22 to 25 feet wide. So basically, it's a large scale. As you can see the park benches back here, and you can see the scale. Okay, so the idea here is that you'll create not only the water fountain but the scene as well. You don't have to go very large. In fact, just be careful with that, but just a small portion of the environment will be great. And then I want you to add a background plate. Okay, that basically means an image that you can find high resolution that will work really nicely with your fountain. Okay, that's it. It can be a garden scene, it can be a park scene, it could be a city scene, whatever you're comfortable with. Another thing is, as long as you follow the requirements, you can do any water fountain you want, meaning that you could do a square water fountain. But here's the thing. You have to have 4 tiers. That means, and I've spelled it out to you too as well in here at the very bottom. So basically, even though I'm going to show you how to do a round 4-tier classic water fountain, you can model any fountain you want, but you must adhere to the requirements of having 4 tiers. Now I mean 1 up here, not the spout, we're not even counting the spout, but 1 tier, 2, 3, and 4, and then the base. Okay, so you have to abide by that, and the particles have to flow from the top down, and they have to be able to hit every single one of them. Okay, if they miss one, then you won't get credit. Okay, so each tier has to be bigger than the other. Now that tier can be square, it can be any shape you want, but the water still has to go from one tier to the next. Okay, all right, basically the flow of gravity. Once that particle system starts, it will flow down. Okay. Alright, great. With that said, you can do anything you want. You just have to follow those requirements. Alright, so just use your artistic abilities and come up with something fun. I'm going to do the classic, and you're more than welcome to do that. Those of you that are not confident in your modeling and texturing skills will probably want to watch my videos, at least for the modeling part. Again, that you do have to texture the water fountain this time. The environment, if you want to go above and beyond, go ahead and texture that as well. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. So let's go ahead and leave that up there, and you can see the shapes. Now, I'm not going to do exactly the same shape because I want to do my own thing. This is basically just a reference, a guide to, what I should be doing. And, we're gonna start with the basic pieces, which is we got the pedestal and the platform. That's the big piece here, and then we have the pedestal to hold the platform up, and then we got the base. So those are the 3 pieces we're going to actually model. Okay, I'm going to use NURBS. NURBS modeling. This is probably the best way to go. At least that's what I think, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so I'll show you all the pieces that I have so far, and I'm going to go ahead and turn off the grid. There we go. So now you can see all the pieces. There we go. So these are all pieces that we're going to create together. And so we've got the base that's at the very bottom. Now this is called a profile curve. Okay, you're going to be creating, I'm going to show you how to create a profile curve. This is the profile curve for the pedestal, and this is the profile curve for the platform. Okay, so the pedestal is going to be different. That's going to be, let me show you that part here. That's going to be the pedestal is this part right here that you see in the middle holding up the platforms. And then we have the platform here. And that's what's going to be holding the water. Alright, so we need a grid. So I took that out of there. There we go. Let's go to the front view. We want the axis to be right in the center. 0, 0 in the X and Y axes. X being this way, Y being up and down. And then what we're going to do is go into Create. And let's get you used to how to maneuver with these. I'm going to have you go to Create. You can also go to spacebar, hold the spacebar down, go to Create, go into Curve Tools, and go into EP Curve Tool. Okay. Now, if you want to, you can go in here to the Curve Tools and go into the option box and make sure you reset it. Okay, just in case somebody's messed with it or you were using linear, but we want 3 cubic in there. So go ahead and reset it. Alright, so I can basically draw any shape that I want, and I can hit the Enter key. So that's how it all works. If I right click over it, I can go to Control Vertex, and I can move these vertices around any way I want. Now the beauty of NURBS curves is that when you create something like this, the reason why I like that 0 to 0, and I know the 0 is right here, is that if I have that open, meaning if I were to revolve this, you would have an opening here and here at the bottom. Let me show you what I mean by that, give you a kind of an example of what's happening here. Let's even make that a little bit wider at the top. So I'm going to just move that back a little bit and maybe up like that. Okay. So, and let me close the one down at the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to click on Grid Snap. I'm going to go ahead and snap it. That's the only way to close it perfectly, is to grid snap it. Alright, so with that said, let's go in here and we are going to revolve it. So under here we've got the curves, okay, all the selection tools and all the attributes of the curves, and we have surfaces. This is how basically we have a curve and we want to create a surface. So we're going to revolve it. We could do a planar, right? We could do a loft. We do a birail, extrude, boundary, square, bevel, bevel plus. So there's a lot of cool things you could do, but we're just focusing on one thing, is to rotate it, revolve. Okay, so I'm going to go click on the option box. Go ahead and edit, reset settings, and we're just going to go ahead and revolve. Okay, you can see that we've got ending sweep. We'll talk you through that in just a second. Let's go ahead and if we apply it, then we can look at this. We can have this open. Okay. Now, why is it black? Well, for some odd reason, NURBS just does that. So I have to go in here with that. I don't even have to select it. It's already selected. Hold down the space bar. Go to curves and then reverse direction. Okay. So we're just gonna click on curves and then reverse direction, and there it is. That's fine then. Okay. Once we got that done, let's go ahead and click on close on that, and we can go into the revolve attributes by under the channel editor. We can go in here, click on revolve. You can see our end sweep here. Now I can highlight the end sweep and middle mouse button go back and forth. We can kind of move that back and forth. You can see that it will actually sweep it for us, which is really cool. So that's pretty cool, and you can animate that. That's pretty neat. Anyway, so the whole idea about that is that you can change everything as you go along, and here's the beauty of NURBS, at least this is how I feel about NURBS. So you can see that we've got it closed at the bottom, and at the top there's that hole. Now the bottom looks good because I was able to grid snap that perfectly. Now it's got a little point on there because of the profile curve. You can see that it comes to a point. Now if I were to go in here and select that end piece and have that perfectly flat, and this one is perfectly flat, then we would have less of that issue with that. So let's go back in here and notice that I got rid of it. Now that in turn shows you some powerful things now, because in polygons, if I were to extrude something, the structure's pretty much the same. Now it's got the same options that you can right click over and go to Control Vertex, and you can go in there, move, and change the shape in real time around, not just in that area, but around the whole entire thing, which is really powerful. So when you think you're done, you're really not. You can go in there and make these changes, which is really, really, like I said, very powerful. So from the side view, you can do the same thing. It's a little easier to get the control vertices on the inside of the profile. And I'm just moving that profile curve around until I get the shape that I want. Now that's very advantageous, because then I can model in basically, like I said, in real time, making changes in real time and seeing them. Kind of gives you a introduction to profile curves, and you can either sweep them, or I would just revolve them. And you can also do things like this. Let me go back. Let's go ahead and delete that. Always keep your profile curve in a layer, okay, if you get done with it, because you can always reuse it. Here's another thing you can do with the profile curve too as well. You can duplicate it, move it over, and you can basically go between those two here by lofting it. So let's go ahead and click on the first profile, then go ahead and hold the shift key down, select the other one, and go to surfaces and loft. I'm going to go into the option box, go ahead and reset it, and click on loft. Now you notice there before I did that, let me do it again, surfaces, loft, you can go in the amount of spans that you want. Notice that it went all the way across, but let's go ahead and do 4 spans and loft that, so now you got 4 spans. You can go in there and mess around with the control vertices on that after. Now this is called the surface now. We've got our profile curve, which is the EP curve, and that's called the surface. If I right click over this, go to control vertices, now I can go in here and click on one of these vertices and just move it around, so you can see how powerful that is. It's really, really, this is how I actually create my cars when I'm modeling cars and stuff, because it keeps things so smooth, okay, very smooth. So you can think of that as a door panel or something like that. But it's very simple if you use curves for organic shapes like that. Now I wouldn't want to model a human face this way, because that would be insane. I've done it before. Back in when Maya 2 was out, they had polygonal modeling, but it wasn't as nice as NURBS modeling. So we were all forced to mess with NURBS. They didn't even have subdivisions back then. They had very basic polygonal tools, not even close to what they have now. They had the cube, they had the triangle, the basic stuff you see up here for primitives. That's all they had. And then I don't even know if they didn't even have this extrude tool at that time. So everybody was modeling in NURBS, and trying to create a face in NURBS was absolutely horrible. The technology just was not there to create facial features like it is now. So with that said, I think we're done with messing around with curves. So now let's go ahead and get to the nitty-gritty and start modeling and getting the profile curves in. So I'm going to go to the front view, and I recommend doing the same. Go to the front view, and we'll just start with the large platform curve. Now you always want to have a some kind of a reference that you can look at. There we go. So there it is. I can look at this anytime I want. Go to the show and get rid of grid, and I'm going to place that back like that and get it out of the way so it's not in my way, and make sure that I place it in the background layer. Let's call that background, and just reference that right now so we don't ever click on it. So I have it on the side so I can always look at it, and I have it in the perspective too if I need to look at that. So again, I'm not going to go in here and do exactly what they've done here. And I'm not even going to be doing photorealistic modeling. I'm just going to give enough detail so it looks like a a nice 4-tier water fountain. I'm not going to get too crazy with this. Alright, so the first curve that we're going to do is the platform. This is where the water fills up and then spills over to the next one. And I'm not too worried about scale, so the idea is just to create this shape, okay? But when I look at how thick that is, this pedestal is really thick. So my profile curve is not looking exactly like that. So if I wanted to do that kind of thickness, I'll show you what I would do. But I like this, but I'll show you another way to do it. So the first thing you're going to do is click on the grid snap, okay? And we're going to go to create curve tools in EP curve tool. I've already been into the option box, so I don't need to do that. And we're going to start right on the curve. Okay, that's good. So it's going to snap to the grid, meaning that when I revolve it, it will not have a hole in the top or the bottom. So you want to grid snap the beginning and the end. Okay, so turn that off. Now we need to freeform it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just try to keep a nice, even, and I'm using the grid, even flow, okay, to this. And you can see right here, okay, I'm going to kind of go off a little bit. So if I look at the reference here, kind of goes off a little bit and then goes down, and it's got thickness. Okay, so if I want to do that, I surely can. So I can go back in here, and we're just kind of free forming that. Now, whenever I do like an edge or a lip, I want to click at least 4 of these. You can see I'm going a little bit more dense with the clicking. Okay, and I'm going to go a little bit of a lip, and then I'm going to go in here and add some nice details that you see in the other image, and we'll go off until we get to something like that. And then we want to continue down, and we're going to make it kind of level off and get more straight as we go along. Okay, and so I'm just going to click and just keep clicking as straight as I can, like that. And at the very end, I'm going to go ahead and click on the grid snap again, and just click on grid snap. And it's okay if it does that. That's fine. And I'm going to hit enter. Now when you hit enter, it finishes up your curve. Right? Now if I right click over it and go to control vertex, okay? And I want to make this bottom part as flat as possible, because that's where the pedestal is going to go, and I don't want that wobbling all over the place. So I'm going to click on grid snap again, and I'm going to grid snap all of these down. Okay, just basically, whoops, don't want to do that. One at a time. Just kind of snap those down. There we go. Kind of a pain to do this. Whoops. Alright. Okay. So, turn off grid snap, because we don't want that to get in the way. And so you can see the shape. Now if I don't like the shape, it's pretty simple to move things around. Now, the closer these two vertices are, the harsher that edge is. Okay, see how nice and soft that is right here? If I get close to that, it gives me a tighter edge, which I like. I like that, because it's almost like hard surface modeling. And when I pull these together, you can see I've got a nice little tight edge here, which I want. Okay, bring that in. And I'm just kind of refining my curve here to what I want it to look like. If I want these to be sharper waves, I can do that by moving them closer to each other. Let me give you another example here. There we go. So you got a sharp wave right there, and I'm going to move that in like that. And so you can get some really neat effects and sharpness if you know how to control your profile curve with your vertices. There we go. Your control vertices, I should say. Alright. So let's make that a little bit more round there. There we go. So it looks like that. And if you wanted to kind of look at it, what it looks like, let's go ahead and click on it. And let's go ahead and revolve it now. That's kind of getting in the way again. Get that, move it back. Here we go. Alright, so let's click on that profile curve, and now we're going to do a revolve, so it gives you an idea how this all works. And in here I'm going to go ahead and reset it, and segments are 8, that's fine for now. And there it is. Okay, now I really don't like the inside of it, but I mean it works, and plus water is going to be filling it up. It's pretty thick, but just take a look. We can refine that too as well. So again, the first thing we're going to do is go to surfaces and then reverse direction, so that takes care of that. And you can see that gives us some really neat detail right there. And in the reference you can see that detail is in there as well. Okay. Alright, so great. So there's our detail. Okay, and then that sets on the pedestal there. So this is the platform. Okay. Now you can refine this like how I showed you in the when I first started this, is that you click on the profile curve to fix things you don't like. Let's say if you think the thickness is if it's too thick, then that's easy enough to fix. You can go in here and control vertices, and you can move this up and just kind of continue moving it up. Let's go ahead and select more. As we move up, you can see that's making it more narrow right there. Let's take a look at that. Oh, that looks better. So that looks really nice. And it didn't take long at all to fix that. If I don't like some of the stuff I see here, I can go back again and make that softer if I want to. So as long as I click on the profile curve and control vertex, I can change these to be more soft. So if I want that to be soft all the way down, I can change that. And you can see that that's updating the mesh underneath. Look at that. So I went from that to that by just moving, but I like that tight edge, so I'm going to keep it. Alright, so there you go. And that's basically how you get started. And you know, I don't worry about that. That's the basic surface. I'm going to delete that. And let me do a revolve on what I had before. And revolve that. There we go. And then I'm going to go in here and reverse the direction. There we go. So there is that. That's what I had before. And that's a little more simplistic than the thick piece. But some of you want to do one or the other. I don't care. You can do any shape you want. The cool thing about this is that what I like about it, this is really cool. I'll show you this part, is that you can take and if I want to do a square shaped, you can do that. I know it sounds crazy, but go to surfaces and go to revolve and go into the option box. Okay, so cubic makes it round. It kind of just kind of looks at when this revolves around. It did 4, but it didn't make it like a cube. I forgot to change that to linear. If I do that, click on linear, now it makes it like a picture frame, which is really cool. And you can use that as a pedestal, or a platform, excuse me. Use that as a platform, which is cool. And let's go ahead and reverse that, see what that looks like. So let's go to surfaces, reverse direction, and there you go. And if I click off of it, that's what it looks like, which is very cool. So you could definitely you just have to, the direction you're in, it's at a 45-degree angle, you just have to rotate that around to 45 degrees. I think it's a negative 45. And you should be in the right grid. Let's go ahead and show grid again so you can see where we're at. There we go. So there's Z. There we go. So there it is. There's your square platform. Let me move that to the side, and I need to delete my type history because with this, if I go in here to control vertex and I move one of these vertices around, it's still, believe it or not, it's still manipulating it, which is, it's cool. if that's what you want. You know, you get some really awesome shapes and messing around, whatever you want to do. But when you get the shape that you want, and you don't want this to affect it anymore, you have to click on the surface, and you have to delete by type history, which is right here, or you can go to edit, delete by type history this way. But I like using the polygon. I love that they put that there. So I'm click on delete by type history. So now I can go in here and do the platform, let's say, to be round. So I'm going to go into revolve, into the option box, reset it, right? And then revolve. And then I'm going to go in here and do a surfaces reverse direction. Okay, and there it is. So now you got two totally different things. We got a pedestal, or excuse me, a platform that's round, and then we have a square shaped platform. And those two you guys can, I don't know, use together if you wanted to. I prefer not to do that, but if you do a square platform, now you know how to do it. Instead of clicking on cubic, you would click on linear, and that's the shape you would get. It's very cool. Very cool. Alright, so let's get rid of that and get rid of that. Okay, so we got the profile curve now for either or. Okay, I have profiles, which is nice, so you can create those profiles. And the next thing I'm going to do is the pedestal curve. Okay, and the pedestal curve is this guy right here, and we'll go ahead and I'll do another, we'll continue this video on a part 2, so it's not so long. And I'll see you in that video. I'll see you in the next video.